All right, let's go ahead and get started. Happy Tuesday, everybody. It is December 22nd. Kind of winding down on one of the most exciting years of recent memory. So, this will actually be our last Training Tuesday of the year. Let's go and take a look at our agenda. We'll not have a Training Tuesday next week, so December 29th. If you do happen to jump on, I'll make sure that it's up on the screen saying that we are not walking through anything that week. So this is the final Training Tuesday of the year. We don't have a whole lot going on. It is a slightly slower time of the year. But we do have a new Piggyback request form, updated job aids regarding brand name. We had not addressed those in our job aids, so we're going to clean that up. Our next bid buy training is January 13th, which we kind of just talk about each week, which will be the second Wednesday of each month. There'll be a slightly different format for registering for that because in the past we did not require registration. Moving into 2021, we are going to require registration previous to joining us. And then for our more substantive issues is we're going to talk about amendments versus change orders and how easily those can be confused. And then, of course, our fun fact of the day. So first off, we have updated Piggyback request forms from our UP team. They are linked here, but I also thought it would be a good idea to go ahead and show you where those live. We also have a link to all joint purchasing templates and forms. So let's just really quickly go out and take a look at what was different with this form. So if you go to our general services page on the bottom, you have our links along the bottom. You can go to the bid buy stuff, procurement resources library where our other templates and forms are. If you go to the unified procurement program, click on that. And you have the up page. And so processes and resources for state agencies. And then you have all of the joint purchasing forms and templates. So you can either use that link or, like I said, you go through from the CPOGS website. So here's all of our joint purchasing forms and templates, anything that you would need to use for our joint purchasing. I wanted to highlight not only the Piggyback request form, we will talk about that, but the form right above that too. So we have the Piggyback request form FAQ document. So if you've never done a Piggyback before, go ahead and take a look at that FAQ because that will be helpful and probably will answer some of your larger questions. Now, of course, we have the processes that may be happening outside of bid buy, and of course, we have our bid buy job aids for your Piggyback request. So that specific process will be laid out in those job aids, but if you have any questions regarding what a Piggyback is, any of those frequently asked questions, I just wanted to highlight that form as well. So the Piggyback purchase request form, if I pull it up, let me download it real quick. So there isn't a lot changing here, but just know that anytime that you would do any sort of purchase request or Piggyback purchase request, this is going to be the new form. You can see on the bottom it does have the version 21.1. We always want you to be using the updated form. So just in case if you're saving those, always go out and use the most recent version. A couple changes that were made. The IPG, let's see, where is the vendor IPG registration number now has a box for that. Let's see what else was added. Don't exactly remember exactly what was added. There was something else as well. Regardless, just use the most recent version of the purchase request form. And go out and take a look at that FAQ document if you're interested in, if you have any other questions. And like I said, I just wanted to show you where those joint purchasing forms and templates are. Okay, no questions so far. Next up, updated job aids. So they are kind of uncommon, but we do see them. Brand name specific procurements. Our job aids on small purchase and IFB do not address the field in bid buy that says brand name. Now, if it is a brand name specification only, of course, it's not a required field, but of course we want that to be marked yes. and that is going to be for reporting purposes. You can always run a report off that field to see how many brand name only procurements your agency did in the previous year. Now, it does default to no because the overwhelming majority of all our procurements are not brand name only. However, if it is brand name only, we want to make sure that that's marked correctly, like I said, for reporting purposes. But our job aids, we're only kind of touching on the required fields for each procurement. But so I'm going to get that updated today, and so you'll see a new version number on those three job aids. So the both small purchase job aids and the IFB job aid as well. Like I said, it probably it may not affect you, but we want to make sure that we are capturing that information and make sure that's documented on our job aids. Next up, okay, so our monthly bid buy trainings still are going to be offered through 2021. Will be the second Wednesday of each month. The agenda will be the same. In that we'll have our 4 different sessions, and we've talked about this really every week. So I don't want to, belabor the point too much, but I do want to make one point that we are going to require registration now. And the new link for 2021 is going to be posted on the CPOGS calendar of events. And I have the link there. And if you don't know where the calendar of events is, it really is, it's just on the front page of CPOGS. On the left-hand side of the screen, there's a link. It says calendar of events. Of course, I'll be sharing it with SPOs and APOs, as well as making it a part of our slides each Tuesday. So you certainly will easily be able to access that, but I also want to be able to have it out posted on our CPOGS website for any and all to join us. And this is perfect for anyone that's new to bid buy, or if they just want a refresher. So we have those 4 different sessions. You do not have to join the entire day. Of course, we'd love to have you all day long, but we understand if you just need to join us for one session. And that new link will be posted later today as well. Okay, so let's get to some more of the substantive components of this week's presentation. Recent questions, FAQs. It's always a good time to talk about amendments versus change orders. Okay, so this was a question I received this past week, but it's something that I understand how it can be easily misunderstood, and so we want to clear that up for anyone. Okay, so amendments versus change orders. So it's important, and first off is to differentiate between procurement code language and what bid buy calls things in their system. So bid buy language versus procurement language. And so when you're having a conversation with an SPO or amongst agency personnel, it can be really easy for our lines to get crossed and to miscommunicate what we actually mean. I may say, "Oh yeah, we got to do it. We got to do an amendment on that." And really, what I mean is a bid amendment, meaning I'm using kind of the bid buy term, versus doing a contract amendment where we're actually changing a contract. So first off, that's kind of like where we start is, are we talking about bid buy processes, or are we talking about actual procurement code language? Okay, so contract amendment versus a bid amendment. So a bid amendment is used in bid buy to publish any changes. So this is for your open procurements. This is where you will publish any Q&As. You'll publish any, maybe you're changing a specification, and we have to publish that out to the vendor community to make sure that they're aware, hey, something is changing regarding this open procurement that we contacted you about. Okay, so that's a bid amendment, and that's also where we publish our notice of awards. So this is at the bid stage in bid buy, right? So we haven't even, this is all that bid stage, we haven't even awarded, all those sorts of things. Now, previously in the Illinois Procurement Bulletin, those were called addendums. But in bid buy, they call them bid amendments, which then can be easily miscommunicated or confused with a contract amendment, which is actually changing the contract once you're at the contract stage. So a contract amendment is a written modification to a contract that does not meet the definition of a change order. And we're going to talk about a contract change order in just a minute. So an amendment may memorialize an action authorized by specific language in the contract, exercise of an option, or showing price decreases or increases based on CPI. There's a couple examples here. Or may memorialize non-material changes, change in names of notice contracts or number of periodic status meetings. So that contract amendment can be broken down a little bit further in being non-material changes, like we said, maybe a contact for that contract, a procurement contact, maybe they have moved on, or someone has retired and now someone else is taking over contract management. So that is a contract amendment. So something is actually changing in the contract, whereas a bid amendment is something is just changing at the bid stage. And so remember, we're talking about the bid buy processes versus our procurement language. Now, a contract change order is a change order or a series of change orders which authorize or necessitate an increase or decrease in either the cost of a contract by a total of $10,000 or more, or the time of completion by a total of 30 days or more. So a contract change order is an amendment, but because it is adding $10,000 or more, or adding 30 days or more to the contract, another set of requirements by procurement code are needed. So for those contract change orders, we actually have to publish that publicly, saying, "Hey, we are changing this," and that is a different, an additional requirement per the procurement code. Okay, so and so this is a kind of a mental note. You can think of it this way: is a change order is an amendment, but an amendment is not always a change order, right? So as a change order, it starts out as an amendment. We are changing the contract, right? But an amendment is not always a change order, because you are changing the contract, but you may not be adding more than 30 days, or you may not be adding more than $10,000 or more. And so we have specific job aids for each one of these things. And so, and that's where I'm pulling some of this language. So I'll actually go out and just show you a job aid that kind of breaks this down a little bit too. We wanted to make sure that, because we see it could be easily misunderstood when we're discussing these things, we wanted to copy and paste, or we wanted to put additional language on the top of each job aid that breaks that down a little bit. So actually, this slide is exactly where I've pulled it from the job aid. So bid buy change orders now. So now we're going back to our bid buy processes, can be either material or non-material. So a non-material change order is a bid buy change order. So we're not talking about adding $10,000 or 30 days, right? We're just talking about we're changing the procurement file in bid buy, and bid buy calls it a change order. Okay, so you can think about it that way: is anytime you change the procurement file at the purchase order stage, you're doing it via a change order. Now, that may not necessarily be adding $10,000 or adding 30 days, so it's not going to be a contract change order. So, for instance, I just need to attach a document to the procurement file. That's a non-material change order in bid buy. It's a bid buy change order. It's used to update the procurement file, but doesn't change anything in the contract. So that's the big differentiating factor there. Examples of a non-material change order: adding an attachment, eliminating overall validation errors. So you get those SAP errors, or maybe you had a required field that wasn't completed. You have that error, and you have to do it via a bid buy change order. Changing a purchaser is another option. Now you have a material change order, is any change to the contract, and that's going to require SPO approval. So that goes back to your a contract amendment and contract change orders. They're both material change orders. So it may be easier here. Let me go back out here and go to our job aid real quick, and I'll just show you that. So here's our job aids page. If you can see, in our subjects, we do have a change order on a PO subject, and you click on that, and we have 3 different ones. And so for an example of, let's say, a non-material change order, this is an example of, right, this is where I pulled from that information for that slide, was just used to update the procurement file. It's not changing anything in the contract, but it's done via a bid buy change order. And so you can see here on this job aid, it's very simple. You're just creating a change order, completing any tabs, attaching any documents, etc. Okay. Now, if I go back to the same page, I'm going to pull up change order, material change order, contract amendment. So material change order, something is changing on the contract. Make that a little bit bigger. Now this is where material change order is any change to the contract. This requires SPO approval. And this is where that language I pulled from that slide, or pulled for that slide, is it talks about what a contract amendment is. So this is, it doesn't rise to the level of a contract change order, but it's a contract amendment. So something is changing on the contract. It does require SPO approval. Let's say, for instance, like I said, something could be changing on the contract, but it's not. Maybe they needed to add 10 days to the contract or $4,000, right? So it doesn't reach the level of a full-on contract change order that would need to be publicly posted, but it still requires SPO approval. And so that you'd have a specific process for that. And then finally, if we go back to the change order, material change order, contract change order. Now that is where, you're adding more than 30 days, you're adding more than $10,000. And you can see here that we actually have to publicly post that. So that's why it's a slightly different process. And for more information on change orders, please refer to the CPO memo linked here. So you have that link if you want to look some more information about contract change orders. Now, one note regarding the contract change order is we do have the note here, and it's further on down in the job aid as well. But a material change that the SPO does not appear on the approval path, such as a change in time, the SPO needs to be manually added at the approval path. So maybe the contract is adding more than 30 days, but maybe the price is not changing at all. Most of our approval paths are all set up through per dollar value. So if the dollar value would change, you'd be automatically on there. But in the case of just adding time, the SPO would not automatically be on that approval path. So, and the job aids discuss that, but I just wanted to highlight that because that is one small little thing that's different that won't automatically bring your SPO on your approval path, is a time only change order. So you're adding more than 30 days, but you're not changing the dollar value at all. And that does happen, right? So just to kind of wrap it all up, I understand, and anybody that is hearing this for the first time, I understand how it can be quite confusing when we talk about change orders and amendments. And a lot of that just has to do with the language that we use and frankly, the coincidence in that the system calls something a change order that matches what our procurement code calls things change orders. So we don't necessarily mean a full-on contract change order when we're just adding a document to bid buy. But bid buy calls that a change order. We're adding something to that procurement file via adding just an attachment maybe. So I guess the overarching thing is I understand it's confusing because of the language that we use. And so maybe we can be better about what we really mean when we're discussing. So that communication is really important. However, also just ask questions too, because many times when you're talking about a bid, it's easy to understand, well, we know we mean a bid amendment. We don't even have a contract to do a full amendment. That's just essentially the way that we would used to call an addendum. So anyway, if you have any questions, reach out to your SPO, your APO, you reach out to me. I can discuss this a little bit further. And until you really actually work on that and do a change order, a contract change order, or you do an actual contract amendment, that's when these concepts really gel and become a little bit more clear for you. Okay, so let's go back to our slides. Our fun fact of the day, we have a couple here. So Beethoven's Fifth premieres In 1808, it's one of the most well-known pieces of music of all time, right? That's the dun 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 dun. Right, we all know that. A little bit of Christmas fun fact: the first string of electric lights decorating a Christmas tree was created for his house by Edward H. Johnson. And then also, this was a really weird one. So just a random fun fact: McDonald's once made bubblegum flavored broccoli. Unsurprisingly, the attempt to get kids to eat healthier didn't go over well with the child testers who were, quote, confused by the taste. Kind of weird, right? If you have any questions, you can always reach out to us, cpogs.training@illinois.gov. Reminder, we will not have our Training Tuesday next Tuesday, and we'll see you in 2021. Hopefully it'll be a happier and healthier year, and happy holidays to you and your family. Please be safe, and we'll see you next year. Thank you.